Hello everyone and welcome back to Katha by Shraddha. I am excited to be back with you with a new series of Kathas. We are going to be producing a series of Kathas that are based on science, stories behind science, interesting stuff that happens to you on a daily basis or that you experience. What is the scientific reason for those experiences or for what happens? This thought came to me because actually it's a personal story. First, I recently posted on my socials a photograph of myself from some years ago, about 25 years ago, and then one from last year. And I got a plethora of messages back saying, oh, how beautiful, how nice, how lovely, and it was all very, very gratifying, and I felt very happy about myself. But I also got a lot of comments on my dimples. And it got me thinking, because my entire life, right, whenever I meet someone new, usually one of the first comments is, what cute dimples you have. And I always thank them for it, and I remind them that I have nothing to do with that. I didn't really do anything to get the dimples. I didn't work hard for them. They were just inherited from my mother, from my amazing mom. And she inherited from her amazing mom. So it was really just genetically handed down to me as a gift. And I got to thinking that my uncles have dimples, I have dimples, my brother has slight dimples, my children have dimples. And it got me thinking, what's the genetics behind it? How or why does this work? So it got me thinking that I know this biology behind it. What could be the story? What is the story behind dimples? What are dimples and how are they formed? And it is a pretty interesting story, so I want to share that with you. So essentially, believe it or not, dimples that you see when people have dimples like this, or even on their chin, or in any other part of their body, if they have a sagging of the skin, it's called a dimple. And cheek dimples are medically known as fovea buccalis. For the buccal cavity, and fovea buccalis means there's a dip in your cheeks. And it actually is a slight genetic defect. Yeah, these dimples that you see, they may look cute, they may look nice, but they're actually a slight genetic defect that is passed on from generation to generation. So it got me thinking, what is the genetics behind dimples? And I did a little research, and let me share that research with you. It's a very interesting story. So, we have in our cheeks a muscle called zygomaticus major. Big long name, right? But all it is the name of the muscle that runs from the corner of your mouth to your cheekbone. And this, on either side, these are zygomaticus major bundle of muscle. And in development, before we are born, while we are developing in our mother's womb, if we have a certain change in a gene on chromosome 5, then you know what happens to the zygomaticus? It doesn't develop the way it's supposed to, but it splits into two parallel sets of bundles. One bundle is the superior bundle, which runs from the upper edge of your mouth, corner of your mouth, all the way to the cheekbone. And then there's an inferior bundle formed, which runs from the lower corner of your mouth up to your cheekbone. And when we smile, can you smile with me? Essentially what is happening, is your zygomaticus major muscle is contracting. So if there's a muscle from here to here and it's contracting, it's going to pull up the corner of your mouth in a smile when it is shortening or contracting. And if it's an entire muscle, no dimples. But if you have a genetic defect or a change in your genetic composition on chromosome 5, it's on chromosome 5 that that genetic defect appears, and your zygomaticus major has split into 2 bundles. When you try to contract that muscle, both muscles are contracting, but because they are split, it's like 2 railway tracks, right? There's a dip in the middle. So when each of those muscles contract, the skin, the overlying skin, what do you think it'll do? It takes a dip, and there you have your dimple. So when I smile or anyone else with a dimple smiles, like this, you see that dip right there. And that to me was very interesting. And even more interesting, because it's on chromosome 5, it follows the autosomal dominant inheritance. Autosomal meaning it doesn't depend on gender. Whether you're a boy or you're a girl, if either of your parents have this particular change in their gene on chromosome 5, you have a chance of inheriting that, whether you're a boy or a girl. And autosomally dominant, that means that in your genetic structure, you have a pair of chromosome 5s. Even if one of those copies of chromosome 5 have this particular change in the gene, you will have a dimple because it's a dominant trait. Isn't that interesting? How people get their dimples. So I'll always like to tell people when they compliment me on my dimples, I love having dimples, and people see them more often than I do because, they're looking at me and I don't look into a mirror so often. But I remind them and I tell them I had nothing to do with it. I inherited from my mom. So thank you, Mom, and thank you to my Ajji especially and my Ai. So isn't that an interesting story of how something that is loved and people wish for it and all of this turns out that it's actually a genetic defect. I hope you enjoyed the story behind the science of dimples, and hopefully we will bring you more very, very soon. I have some interesting ideas and I'm hoping to bring to them very soon. Bye till then.